Hi everyone, I have the fourth card of the 25 Days of Christmas Card series. Today we'll be making a fun little watercolor card with a oasis stamp. It's a cute little reindeer with a girl. The first thing I wanted to do for this card is make the background. So here is some broken china distress ink. I just squished that onto my craft mat and I'm picking it up with a very flat, big paintbrush. And I'm mostly concentrating the color towards the left hand bottom corner and trying to fade it out as it goes away from the corner. As you can see, my paper is really buckling and eventually it warps because I do use my heat tool on this. This was actually just regular white cardstock, so obviously if you want to do this, you'll get a much better look if you use watercolor paper. But the beauty of distress inks is that once you dry it, it becomes a lot lighter than you did when you put it on the paper, and it kind of evens it out so it doesn't look as streaky and blotchy as it did there. And you'll see at the end it looks a little bit better. So here I'm going to show you my Copic coloring. I'll just explain the brown part of the reindeer and then I'll speed the rest up for you. But here I am doing a different method than I would usually do. I'm actually starting with my darker color because this again isn't specialty paper for my Copics. I'm just using regular cardstock and I don't want to oversaturate it. So I'm starting with my darker color, putting it where there would be natural shadows. So under the belt, on the sides of his face, I wanted his face to look round. So next I'll go into my medium shade, and again I use flicking motions. I find that when you go over it with the lightest color, it's a lot easier to blend than if you just have a line. So that's my medium shade, and then I'll go back with my lightest shade and really blend that out. And that's basically what I do for the whole image, so I'll just put on some music and you can watch the rest of my coloring. So I'm just gonna finish up this little girl here. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is get some scissors and cut this little image out. And then we will be gluing her onto the watercolor panel that I showed you earlier. So here I am cutting it out. And then I will glue that to the watercolor piece that we made at the beginning of the video. And you'll see at this point it got really lighter and it's not as streaky like I said, but for that it got very warped. So if you have this problem, I would recommend just a lot of adhesive and then you should be fine. So here I'm going to be die cutting. The bigger one is from Hampton Arts. It comes with the stamp set. And then this smaller one I got from Darice. Now I wanted to use the stamps that went with this bigger snowflake. So I just used my pencil and I marked a line where the top of the branch of the snowflake was. And I'll line that up and stamp it. Now it doesn't align perfectly, but I kind of disguise that with a rhinestone in the middle. This is how I added a little bit more to the background. I just didn't like that plain blue. I added some, this is the same Hampton Arts stamp set. This is the smallest snowflake in the set. So I stamped that a few times. I had a few, and I had quite a bit of extra space, so I pulled out an even smaller one. I'm honestly not sure where this one came from. And here I'll be adding some silver embossing powder, and actually when this melts it turns white and then there's some silver glitter in it. It's really pretty. And then once I'm done embossing that, I'll go ahead and glue that little image that we colored. Now I'm going to add some foam dots. I wanted those die cuts to look like I indeed die cut them. Gave it a little bit of dimension. And then I also recommend putting some smaller ones around the die cuts. That way it won't sag down in the middle. And again, the paper is really warped, so I would actually use more than I used here. I just mass produce these, so I kind of limit myself to my supplies. And I didn't like how that larger one didn't match the smaller one, so I took my Copic liner and just freehand made my own snowflake in there. And then I will add some double-sided tape. And then I'll go ahead and adhere that to my standard A2 card base. So these cards have been really fun to make. I'm not much of a card maker, so to speak. I really enjoy making my mini albums, but it's just so fun to make Christmas cards. You get to pull out things you wouldn't normally use, like glitter. For me, I'm not really a glitter person, only on Christmas. So these have been so fun to make. I have a ton more to show you, and I'm very excited to be sharing my projects with you guys. And if you have any questions or any feedback on my cards, I'd love to hear about it. If you would leave me a comment, I'll surely reply to you all. Here I'm just going to stamp my sentiment. And I didn't know if I wanted to use that snowflake or not. In the end, I kind of thought it was too big. I didn't want to use that smaller one because when I sell them, I also sell the envelope, so I kind of want to match the envelope to the card. So I ended up using the smaller snowflake for my envelope. And then I actually made two different kinds. I kind of prefer the blue one over the beige, but let me know what you think. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for day 5. Bye!